On December 28, 1998, a routine police stop turned into a tragedy that would spark outrage and controversy for years to come. In the quiet city of Riverside, California, 19-year-old Tyisha Miller found herself in a dire situation. Her car had broken down, leaving her stranded alone in a parking lot. What could have been a small, harmless inconvenience quickly escalated into a deadly encounter. Tyisha, suffering from a mental health crisis, sat in her car, disoriented and unaware of the danger approaching. What began as a call for help from a store clerk who saw Tyisha slumped over soon turned into something unthinkable. The 911 dispatcher, unaware of Tyisha's condition, ordered officers to the scene, thinking there was something criminal happening. What followed would become a tragic series of events that no one could have predicted. The store clerk, concerned for Tyisha's well-being, dialed 911, reporting a suspicious person in the parking lot. When police arrived, Tyisha was still sitting in her car, alone and unaware of the officer's presence. At this moment, she wasn't in any immediate danger. She wasn't violent. She was confused, trapped in a mental health crisis that she couldn't escape. However, the officers approaching her vehicle saw something they perceived as a threat. They didn't know Tyisha's backstory, nor did they understand the full extent of her struggle. Instead, they saw a young woman behind the wheel with a gun visible in the passenger seat. The officers began to approach the car, demanding that Tyisha get out. But she didn't respond. She remained silent, possibly not even hearing their commands. The situation was tense. The officers, fearing for their safety, drew their weapons. They believed that Tyisha was a threat, but in reality, she had no intention of harming anyone. Tyisha, in her confusion, hadn't even moved to reach for the weapon. But despite the clear signs of her distress, the officers opened fire. They shot 12 rounds into her car at close range. Tyisha Miller, who had done nothing more than sit silently in her vehicle, was killed instantly. But as the dust settled and the shock began to wear off, the world began asking the difficult question: why did this happen? Was it a tragic misunderstanding or an example of excessive force? As investigators began digging into the case, inconsistencies began to surface, revealing the failings of the police response. First, the gun that was reportedly in Tyisha's possession was never in her hands. Ballistics reports confirmed that the gun had not been fired. The officers' claim that Tyisha was reaching for it didn't hold up under scrutiny. Moreover, the police were aware that Tyisha had been struggling with her mental health. Her family had contacted authorities multiple times, asking for intervention from mental health professionals. Yet, instead of addressing the root cause of the situation, the officers treated Tyisha as a threat from the moment they saw the gun, making no attempt to de-escalate the situation. The more they looked, the more the evidence pointed to a tragic failure of understanding. A failure to recognize that Tyisha needed help, not fear. In the aftermath of Tyisha's death, the Riverside community was torn apart by anger and confusion. The shooting was deemed a tragic accident by the police department, and the officers involved were never charged with any crime. This lack of accountability prompted Tyisha's family to file a wrongful death lawsuit. They argued that excessive force had been used, and that the officers had failed to consider Tyisha's mental health crisis. Yet, the legal system seemed to side with the police. The case was dismissed, with the argument that the officers had acted in self-defense, fearing for their lives. The media and the community were furious. Protests broke out, demanding justice for Tyisha Miller. The case was yet another example of a system that failed to protect the most vulnerable. Tyisha's death wasn't just about bad police work. It was a reflection of the systemic failure to address mental health issues and police training. The bitter irony in Tyisha Miller's death is this: she wasn't killed by a violent criminal, but by a misunderstanding. She wasn't a threat. She was a young woman in need of help. Yet, the officers saw her through the lens of suspicion and fear. The tragic irony is that Tyisha never had the chance to explain herself. She was denied the opportunity to speak, to be heard, and ultimately to get the help she needed. Her story became a rallying cry for many. Tyisha Miller was a victim of a system that didn't know how to treat mental health crises with the care they required. Her death exposed a deeper issue within law enforcement, one that would continue to plague communities across the country. In the end, justice for Tyisha Miller was never truly served. The officers walked free, and the legal system failed to hold them accountable. But her story continues to resonate with those who fight for reform and change. Tyisha's death was not in vain. Her case became an example of the work still left to do in confronting police brutality and mental health issues. The greatest tragedies aren't always the ones we see coming. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't the gun in someone's hand, but the assumptions we make about them before they even speak. Tyisha Miller's story is a painful reminder that our system failed to protect her when she needed it most. And in the end, the question remains: how many more will suffer the same fate before real change takes place? If you want more in-depth coverage on cases like this, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell to be the first to know.